Hey, I'm here in sunny Southern California at Matterhackers headquarters. We're here to see the new Ultimaker S5, have a meetup which involves tacos, a few drinks, a few laughs, a few good times. I'm not here to do it by myself though. I've got my friend joining me. Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Joel.
Oh, wait, were you gonna shake my hand?
No, I want to high five you.
There it is. Everybody, this is my friend Courtney. Courtney, tell the world about you.
Well, my name is Courtney, aka Courtney McNerdy.
McNerdy.
I know, and I consider myself a pretty big nerd, but I've never really gotten into 3D printing. So Joel here, the 3D printing nerd, who better to show me the 3D printing world? So here I am.
I'm gonna do my best. All right, so we're gonna go inside, we're gonna look at that Ultimaker, and we're gonna tell you about it. Just off the bat though, this is not a review, it's just a new big machine that not many people are gonna see. I just thought you might like to see it. So I'm Joel.
I'm Courtney.
This is 3D Printing Nerd.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see.
Here it is, Courtney.
Ooh, the one in the middle?
The one in the middle. This is the Ultimaker S5. Ultimaker is a 3D printer company, and the S5 is their latest offering. It's a very large machine, and it looks like a print needs to be started. So you've never done this before, right?
No.
All right, this is gonna be fun. So Courtney is gonna start a print on this machine while I go back and get the other machine ready to talk about. You got this?
Hey,
good luck.
If you think I can do it.
You got this.
All right, so let's give this a shot. It says it's ready to print. Select from USB. Oh, there's only one thing to select from, so that makes it a little bit easier. Start print. All right, let's go see how Joel's doing in the back.
Well, here it is. Here is the Ultimaker S5. It's a crazy large machine, and it looks bigger, but you don't really realize the size until you're looking at an older Ultimaker. I don't know if you can see it behind it, but you know, an Ultimaker 2 Plus or an Ultimaker 3, and the size of this machine is just large. It feels large. It's cool. It's the new Ultimaker S5. I wrote some notes down so I wouldn't miss anything. It's 330 on the X, 240 on the Y, and 300 on the Z. And in imperial measurements, that's 13 inches by 9.5 inches by 11.8 inches. Stats say it'll do 20 micron using a 0.4 nozzle. I was looking online, and it looks like it'll do 20 micron with a 0.8 nozzle as well. You know, it's using those print cores, and those print cores will go up to 280C. It's a dual extrusion setup, much like the Ultimaker 3. In fact, the head looks the same as the Ultimaker 3. The Ultimaker S5 does have a heated build plate, of course. They say it's glass and it's aluminum. Aluminum coming in the fall of 2018. The build plate will go 20C to 140C. What's new in the Ultimaker S5? Well, one of the things is a filament sensor, and that filament sensor detects when the filament runs out, which is sweet because when you have a large build volume and you're printing something epic, you don't want running out of filament to ruin the print. It will recognize the material using NFC if you're using Ultimaker spools, but doesn't require Ultimaker spools, and so you can run Matterhackers or whatever other materials you have through this machine, and it'll eat it up like crazy. The front of the machine is different in that it has an enclosure right here. The glass doors come in, you can enclose the top, and then you have an enclosed machine, but also on the front is this crazy touch screen. I was using it earlier and it feels very similar to using an iPhone or a new Android device. There's no lag in the touch screen itself is great. The detail is there, the colors are rich and robust. It is a welcome addition to a flagship machine. I've got my spreadsheet where it actually talks about a bunch of the machines I know of or I've used, and it's interesting. The S5 itself is 330 by 240 by 300, and it's just under 24,000 cubic centimeters of build volume, which is huge compared to the other Ultimakers. They've really embiggened it because the Ultimaker 2 Plus is a little over 10K. The Ultimaker 2 Plus Extended is 15,000 cubic centimeters. The Ultimaker 3 is just over 9. The Ultimaker 3 Extended is 13.8. And with the Ultimaker S5, it's 23.7 thousand cubic centimeters of build volume. That's huge. And it looks cool too. And if you know how to use an iPhone, you know how to use that front-facing touchscreen. That's my short little look of the machine. We'll let this finish printing what it's printing. Let's go back and check on Courtney.
Don't tell.
On Twitter, I put out a call to people asking about the machine. I said, what do you want to see? Because I had access to it, but people wanted some prints. This isn't about prints necessarily right now. This is specifics about the machine because there's been a lot of incremental changes to nearly everything on the machine. So I've got my laptop, and rather than me just kind of wing it, I think there's someone that could better answer your questions. His name is Matt, and he works for Ultimaker. Matt, appear!
Hey, Joe.
Luckily, the S5 is larger and it's easier to hide behind.
Yeah, quite easy, actually.
Well, one of the first questions that I'd like to highlight is from Alex. And Alex says, how fast can it print, cranking up to 88 miles an hour?
Right.
I did on Twitter say this isn't a DeLorean, but what kind of print speeds are we looking at with the S5?
Well, I mean, it's material to material. We've done a lot to tune and tweak the material profiles. Because there's a lot of counterintuitive stacking of various temperatures and retraction things, I can't just give you like a flat number for all of them.
How about this? In
Yeah.
a typical scenario with PLA, let's do PLA
Yeah.
first. With PLA, are we going to be able to hit 60 to 80 millimeters per second?
If you tune and tweak the temperatures and such to reflect that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, our strategies for improving material experiences have meant that we've been digging really deep into how the materials behave. And so we have stopped focusing on being speed demons, which I think we should do some more
Sure.
of as well. But we've actually changed a lot of the profiles, and everybody in the whole Ultimaker ecosystem will benefit from some of the stuff we've been doing for the S5.
Okay.
Speed things up.
That's a
but,
good answer. See,
yeah.
I wouldn't have said all those fancy words. Domenico is saying the touchscreen UI, it looks very clean. Can you talk a little bit about
Excellent.
the touchscreen experience and how you guys came about coming to a touchscreen?
So, I mean, we've been really committed to having interfaces for a long time, but we're slow to jump to an LCD, like a full color panel like this.
Okay.
And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about UI UX. I like it. I find it really responsive. I like that you can get a lot of value out of it even while you're printing. You get a lot of information, what's on the machine, but also you can get details, things like instructions for how to do a hot and cold pull. Instead of just saying, hey, go look at the website, see how to do it, follow those instructions, you can actually kind of put that stuff in there. And so that came out of a lot of feedback, and I think you'll see that reflected in a pretty intuitive experience on this one.
What I really like about it is how responsive it is. There's no lag in the touch. I've been a smartphone developer for a long, long time, and you run across lag in devices.
Yeah.
And I think a laggy experience would detract from the information-rich display that it has. And so for you to have an information-rich display, but at the same time not have lag on touch, it really improves the experience. Did you find any problems getting a display like that, a high-resolution display with that much information to be lag-free?
We approached it in a different way than some of the other teams that have brought on displays like that earlier, because we have it sitting on a little bit beefier Linux board in the base that has taken over a little bit more of the control function than you might expect from the past. So it's not sitting on the control board. It's on the Linux board, and we have a little bit more RAM and processing than like a Raspberry Pi. Yeah,
that's cool. Kirby asks, will it blend? But this is, I can confirm with you, this is not a blender, correct?
No.
Can you cook breakfast on the build plate?
Yeah, sure.
Because it'll go up to 140°C, right? Which in Fahrenheit is like a zillion degrees. So, I mean, you could cook an egg on that, right?
You can do that kind of stuff. And we have a lot of people who will play around with paste extruders and that kind of thing. So if you really are dedicated to blending or making food, you have a lot of options.
I'm just, at some point the S5 could be the chocolate chip cookie 5.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm waiting. Ashley does say, do an EEV blog, don't turn it on and just take it apart.
Right.
And Mark did say, talked about the touch interface, the doors, and any play in the motion system when scaled up like that. So let's first address the motion system. Right. It is scaled up. There's no play. It can go to the ends of everything and still be precise?
Yeah, we did a bunch. So it's not just a big Ultimaker 3. Kind of like when we went from the Ultimaker 2, the 2 Plus, we bundle up all of our thinking and observations into how the 3 functions and how we could tune it and tweak it. So,
well, at first glance,
like the rods
it looks like an Ultimaker 3.
Yeah, it does, but everything's beefed up.
Okay.
Everything's beefed up, and to make sure, if you're going to have a bigger plate, of course you're contending. You have to fight having any sort of wobble or play.
Yes.
And so the XY gantry is beefed up.
What do you mean by beefed up? So thicker rods? Okay.
Yeah. We actually improved the movement system. You notice it's a little quieter.
It is a little quieter than my Ultimaker 3. Yeah. I mean, and I'm standing right next to it, and the printers going behind us are actually louder than the machine I'm standing right next to.
So that's an exciting improvement because there's some other stuff wrapped into those kind of changes that may come into play soon. But we really beefed up the table in general so that it can handle that. Larger volume parts, but also so you can move around it and really kind of know that it is where it should be. Because this is a machine that's designed for professional. It has to be an accurate part, or like why the heck have this? So that's one of the reasons we added like all the multiple probing stage, even for using glass. It will, for the auto leveling, go through and probe. Is it 12 or 16? I need to double check with the final. Details are for number of times.
Okay.
But across that plate, even a glass that's pretty true, there's still going to be variation.
Okay.
And this isn't the only plate that's going to ship with this. Now we haven't launched the aluminum.
I read it's coming
plates.
fall of 2018.
Yeah, but they're included in the machine. So like even if it's not in the package, you're going to get it. They're a little more accurate across the whole, like summing the entire surface.
Oh, there's less variance across
which is nice.
Okay.
But probably the main excitement is materials abrasive materials, et cetera, that really would chew into the glass. But even with aluminum plate, might be like a 100 micron difference across glass. Even, I like our silicate glass. It's pretty accurate. I swap them and it works out okay. But still, there's like 100 to 200 micron difference possibility across it. So by having all those probe points, you can really kind of map that a little bit better, and then it will actually iron out and correct those in the lower millimeters of the print, so that it gets totally true from there up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am curious about the doors. So in a machine like this, a larger machine, the doors, they look really nice, but the cover, there's no cover on the top. And so what was the choice on the doors? And why are those there without anything covering the top?
The doors were more critical because you're really wanting to avoid drafts coming through, causing the heat, the heated build platform to cycle more and cause the parts to warp, that kind of thing. So adding the doors already is just really helpful and really nice.
Adding doors...
Yeah.
More than a cover on top is actually just even without the cover on top, the doors still provide enough of a guard against the drafts and everything. Oh,
and across all the materials, that's probably the most useful. Certain materials, capping it too closely so it pools the heat in there is actually worse for them.
Interesting.
But we also didn't do that because our third-party ecosystem, our resellers offer all kinds of full enclosures.
True.
So depending on your need, you can get a enclosure right now with a HEPA filter for certain contexts. For most needs, this is great. And the materials are safe and inert. We want it to be like the go-to best machine for your design office.
Let's speak to what Ashley said about an EEV blog. Don't turn it on. Just take it apart. The power supply is now integrated to the bottom of the machine.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that choice and why it's now harder to get in on the bottom.
In general, we wanted to ship something that is good to go. You put the wall power in and you can connect it to your devices through other ports. You'll notice we have an expansion port that...
I did see that.
Yeah, okay. Someday I'll get to talk about that. Probably pretty soon. We got rid of the DC power bricks. Makes it easier to ship and move them around. But the way that we solved that does have consequences by kind of miniaturizing all the power management and the placement of the control boards and stuff. We won back some real estate, but we don't want people opening up the base.
Okay.
Especially with it plugged in, because the AC power conversion is now happening inside the machine, and so that's
Well, you mentioned an AC rail, so there's an actual rail with connections that is open, and if you were to open that bottom cover, you'd be exposed to possibly an electrical AC shock, which.
Yep. So we don't want that. Okay. So we don't encourage that. We don't want people going there. There'll be warning labels on it. I mean, it is possible to open it, just unplug it.
It's harder to get into, but not impossible.
Yeah, and as far as that won't limit any of our end users because we're beefing up our ways of serving any customer who has any sort of support need in there. we're completely prepared for that.
Okay.
Should it come up. We think it will come up less because, like I said, we've learned from years of the Ultimaker 3. We've had the basic model that this is in-house for like a year and a half. We take a long time to launch pieces because we want it when it launches to be like out forever. We want people to keep using them. People can still get service parts for the Ultimaker Original Plus and keep those going.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The 2s are still, very in wide use, and people are grabbing even more of them.
Well, with the 3 and now this moving to more of an industrial professional sort of discipline, the 2 Plus seems to be the go-to hobbyist machine from Ultimaker.
Yep.
Well, let's close this. How about this, Matt? I've got some more time. What are 5 new cool things about the Ultimaker S5 that someone might not know about, or that might not be the most widely published thing? What are 5 things you think that have changed about this machine from previous versions that are really cool and people should know about?
Well, I kind of covered one of them, but I could say it more efficiently, that it really, we learned a lot from having all of our machines out in the wild, the 3s, the 2 Pluses, being used in professional contexts. So it is focused really sincerely on reliability and accuracy.
Okay.
So all the beefed up X, Y, and Z, the motion mechanicals with the new motion controllers, quieter. Anyway, the flow sensor. So you have a bigger volume. You're going to probably process more plastic. Occasionally, if you do things like I have a print I cannot wait to run, looks to be a 10-day print. I've printed many 5-day prints. This will be a first 10-day print for me. And when it runs out of material, it pauses the print. So it's an optional setting, but one that I'm planning to use a bunch. You can also trigger it. I don't want to mess with your print. Let's not trigger it now,
because that's not my print. I don't know if I want to
tug on the. Anyway, you can force the flow sensor to trigger and get experience of it, which is really nice.
Okay.
So that's handy for long jobs, just taking the guesswork and the sleepless nights out of like cycling, new material in there.
That makes sense.
Of course, we could all like measure and figure out like, oh, I can just throw a pause in the G code and come back in the morning. But nobody ever does that. So this is
not
really
many
helpful
people
for
do
that.
that. Some people do.
So that's 2 things. The interface in the front. It's not just handy to see the part. Some of what is represented by the information that's collected and shown in it, it's revealing, some of the materials and information that are being managed by the system.
Okay.
You can access more of that and surface more of it in Cura than before.
Oh,
and there are new ways potentially to, to think about how to use your machine and with more and more folks making their own custom plugins, especially companies in Cura, they can draw on some more stuff and they can communicate with the machine in new ways, which is nice.
That's 3, Matt. What else you got? Dig deep.
We improved a lot of the networking stuff and gave more control to the phone application and Cura for controlling machine remotely. That the new aluminum plate is going to be awesome for printing really, tough, grabby materials like, copolyester plus, polycarbonate, things like this that will eat the surface of the glass. So that's going to be really nice.
Let's get you one more. One more awesome fact about the Ultimaker S5.
Tough PLA is awesome.
Oh,
I've really been enjoying it. So we made a lot of profiles honed in these profiles for the S5. We think it's going to be used it's going to be pretty popular material because we're not even charging more than in other PLA, at least in the original pricing structure. I believe that is still the case.
Wow, okay.
So a lot of applications where people want the accuracy of PLA, where it's not going to shrink much across the entire volume. They'll happily use tough PLA and make stronger parts that can, resist more wear and tear.
Is tough PLA like an HDPLA? Is it?
Yeah, very
similar?
Very similar. Okay. In the sense that there are ways that the polymer is produced that you're benefiting from, and the way the components of what goes in give you the other mechanical parts without it necessarily shifting so radically to another polymer. Your experience of using PLA, but it's a tougher material, so it can handle more mechanical, force. I think that people printing patterns, things like that for casting, will be very excited about that. There's so many things I'm excited about that are just
you
really
are,
not that
you
interesting.
are excited about
If you're not
You
really
love this stuff.
I do.
I love
Yeah.
your passion for this, Matt. I love it. I love being a part of a community that you're such a leader in. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I have to go check on my friend Courtney. You're good
Okay.
here with your friend Ultimaker S5, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again. Appreciate it, Matt.
This 3D printing stuff is amazing.
It is amazing, isn't it?
I love it.
Are you having a good time?
Yeah, I'm having a blast.
You're totally getting a 3D printer now, aren't you?
Oh, I'm going home and I am 3D printing all of the toys.
That's great. I can't wait to see what you make.
Maybe not a gun as big as this, but
I don't know, maybe
a
bigger.
tiara.
Of course, a cat tiara.
Another little tiara.
That's for the best.
Yeah.
Well, we do need to finish this up, so you're going to have to put your fun away so we can go outside and do this. I'm sorry. I'm
right,
sorry.
all right, all
I'll see you outside.
All right.
So how was it? Your first experience? This was your first 3D print, right?
My first 3D printing experience was amazing. That new 3D printer, it was so easy. I could use it. So.
Well, that's good. And it looks like you got along well with some of the props
Yeah.
that were 3D printed.
Maybe a little bit too well.
Aw. I think Matterhackers might let you take that home.
Please, thank
All right, well, a big thanks to everybody who joined us along for this little video. Big thanks to everybody that got to meet Courtney now. Courtney, if they want to know more about you, how can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Courtney McNerdy.
Courtney McNerdy. I like it. Thanks. All right, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell. Big thanks to everybody that supports the channel, and don't forget to hug each other more, because I love you guys, as always. High five.